Turn down the lights and turn up some music while you eat. These environmental distractions will take your attention away from the food. I think you should change this to only eat your meals in the club so you can burn the calories you're eating on the dance floor. Not great advice. If you want to burn some fat and get to a healthier weight, you already know there's 100 different people saying 100 different things on social media nowadays, so I'm going to fact check some of the most popular facts and myths out there so you won't have to guess your way through this. Let's get into it. Drink black coffee. This will boost your metabolism. Caffeine is a stimulant, so it will technically boost your metabolism, your basal metabolic rate. So this is how much your body burns while you're doing nothing, while you're sleeping. So a fancy word for energy output. But where people usually go wrong with coffee is that they add in the extras, the milk, the creamers, the sugar, and that's where it becomes more of an excess in calories. But I like that this is black coffee. The main reason I like black coffee is because I like to stay fasted in the mornings, and it also increases your non-exercise activity. That's you fidgeting around. Caffeine gives you a bit more energy for you to move more. So technically you're burning a bit more calories without really doing anything. So these are a bunch of myths I took from Dr. Mike. So just gonna read them out and give my opinions on them. Hang a mirror in front of your dining tables. Studies show that watching yourself reduces the amount of food you consume. If you want to hang a mirror in front of your dining room because you like it as a decoration, then 100% go and do that. But if you're trying to use it to eat less calories because you think that's gonna help, I wouldn't recommend it. Use smaller plates and bowls to serve your own food. This is an optical trick that will give you a full sensation from seeing a clean plate. I generally think this is a good tip, which I use when losing 4 to 6 pounds. I use smaller spoons and forks as well. So it just makes that idea of portion control a bit easier because psychologically you feel that you've eaten as much as you think you should do. And I think it's quite beneficial for overweight people who struggle with portion sizes, so they get an idea of what a meal looks like, which they can play around with over a period of time. Easy tips, implement them. Participate in intermittent fasting, though it also may reduce muscle mass. I like intermittent fasting because it shortens the eating window, so technically you consume less calories within that window. On the other side of the table, there are people who leave this fasting window for them to binge and try and eat as much as possible. That's not how it works. You still need to eat less calories. I prefer a time restricted window of 16 hours without eating and an 8-hour window with eating. So this just generally helps me feel more focused and productive throughout the day because there is evidence that eating over 80% full does slow down your cognitive function as well. But the main thing here is that it has to work around you. So if you feel fasting makes it difficult to stick to your calorie deficit, then by all means, split your meals throughout the day. But there is benefits around the favorable health effects, even hormonal changes and productive changes for weight loss as well. But the idea that it reduces muscle mass isn't true if you have enough calories and protein throughout the day. It is optimal to have a protein feeding window every 5 to 6 hours, but what I like to do is have a liquid source of protein like whey, so I can still technically get in some protein within that time restricted eating window, which may technically break the fast for the favorable health effects, but it's just what I like to do. Replace normal high calorie protein intake with whey protein powder. I'm not against the use of whey to fill in your protein intake, especially if you're consistently under hitting your minimum amount. And if you're on a time restricted schedule and you're trying to get in meals, especially around workout times, I think whey is a great substitute, but replacing normal foods for whey when you have the option isn't necessarily a great option because foods with sufficient vitamins and minerals are going to be productive for your overall fitness journey. And keep in mind, a lot of these foods do keep you more full as well, which can be helpful for weight loss. But if we're talking about calories, getting in lean protein sources like egg whites, white fish, chicken breasts are great options. But remember, the technically higher calorie protein sources like salmon, like whole eggs, like beef, also do come with their benefits as well. Try and figure out what would be right for you within your calorie intake, and of course use whey as needed to top it up. Chew more slowly. Your brain can take time to signal to your stomach that you're full, so being patient with how quickly you eat can allow your brain time to cut off before you overeat. So there is some truth to this. There's hunger hormones, ghrelin and leptin, and the longer that you spend chewing does technically signal to your brain that you're feeling more full, so can help you reduce the amount of foods and calories you consume. But I would actually change this to a bit to chew better, as in Don't try and just swallow foods and inhale them, but try and enjoy and chew your foods properly. Not necessarily just take hours eating a single meal. Try and make sure you're chewing properly. Spoil food you don't want or need to eat. If you've got leftovers that are calling your name, find a way to ruin the food, such as dousing in milk or pouring in a ton of salt. This is, honestly, this is just ridiculous, especially with the situation of the world right now. Wasting food by just ruining it because you don't have the self-control to not eat it is absolutely ridiculous. And it clearly does create a very disordered relationship around food itself. Drink green tea. It's loaded with powerful antioxidants called catechins, which are believed to work synergistically with caffeine to enhance fat burning. So green tea has caffeine in it, and having it with coffee isn't a bad idea, but to say that it has a significant effect on fat burning would be a bit of an overstatement. Essentially, if it's going to help you reduce the amount of calories to an extent by acting as a slight appetite suppressant alongside caffeine, but there are no magical effects from drinking green tea, unfortunately. Interval training, short bursts of intense exercise followed by longer stretches of mild exercise. High intensity interval training, that's very person dependent. If you like doing interval training and you want to fit a workout into a shorter period of time, fine, go for it. But if we're talking about simply fat burning, technically low intensity steady state cardio over a longer period of time, let's say walking for 30-40 minutes, will technically boost the amount of calories that you burn in comparison to shorter frames of high intensity interval training. But once again, up to you. You do what you like. I would suggest some form of light intensity cardio and walking alongside a proper weight training regimen. That's what I found worked best for me and my clients, and the evidence does back that as well. But if you like high intensity interval training, go for it. Get used to and accept the feeling of being hungry. You can't lose weight without enduring hunger, so recognizing and normalizing that feeling is important. This is true and false for different stages of fat loss. So let's say you have 50 pounds to lose. Losing the first 10, 20 pounds can be very easy down to simple food swaps. Watch my videos, I've done a lot of videos on this, but making changes into higher volume, lower calorie density foods and higher satiating foods with an increased protein intake, you may not feel hungry at all losing the first 10, 20 pounds. But let's say you're trying to go from 15% body fat, trying to get absolutely shredded down to 10. At that point, you know what? You're gonna be hungry because you only have so many cards left to play. That's gonna be where that statement applies to a small minority, but regardless, you can make fat loss easy for you. And that's just by making the right choices in foods based on calorie density and the volume of foods and the protein content of foods. Lift weights instead of just doing cardio. Not only does this cause you to lose fat, but you also build muscle to replace it. There is a very common misconception that muscle can replace fat. Not really how it works. We can talk about body recomposition in a lot more detail, but I'm gonna make it very plain and simple here. Lifting weights, the idea of this is to maintain / grow muscle tissue. And cardio is to burn more calories to make it easier to get into a calorie deficit and stay there, and to improve health goals as well. Losing fat and building muscle is a completely different topic around body recomposition, which I'll go into in a lot more detail in the next video. So subscribe and turn your notifications on. Stay tuned. Snack often. This will prevent metabolic slowdown where your metabolism stops if there's nothing there to digest. While snacking, your metabolism is forced to stay engaged. This one's been debunked more than once, but you don't need to keep eating for your metabolism to keep working. Your metabolism's always working. The idea of your metabolism slowing down and just stopping has been pushed in the fitness industry far more than it should do, and it gives a lot of people the idea that their metabolism is the problem instead of the fact that they're unable to maintain a calorie deficit across a long period of time. Having light snacks which fill you up, which are lower in calories like air popped popcorn, fruits, berries, whatever it is good for you to keep you more full, to make a calorie deficit easier to stick to, and it's a better option than snacking on high calorically dense foods, but the snacking itself doesn't have a huge effect on metabolism at all. But I think what they're trying to refer to is the difference between larger meals all at once versus smaller meals throughout the day, and this is a very individually dependent choice. I can tell you what I personally do. As I mentioned, I like to fast across the beginning of the day with way in between, and have 2 larger meals later in the day with a snack in between. With drinking water 30 minutes before a meal will help your body burn calories faster and therefore lose weight. It really isn't as simple as drinking water equals burning more calories or losing weight. Water is of course something that you should be having in your day in sufficient amounts, and it can definitely help you keep more full making a calorie deficit easier to stick to instead of building up cravings and binging throughout the day, but simply drinking water before a meal. There is really no conclusive evidence that backs this at all. But I would say as a challenge for you, try and drink 1 liter more of water each day this week, and I can promise you it will probably make your fat loss journey a bit easier. Begin meal prepping. Plan out all of your meals for the week and spend a few hours cooking them, storing them in resealable containers ahead of time. This will allow you to eat a prepped meal instead of ordering takeout when you're too tired to cook something fresh. I think meal prepping is a great idea and very good for most people, especially when they know they're on a time restricted schedule and it's going to be difficult for them. But of course, there are going to be days where it's difficult and you have to order takeout, in which case it's all about working it around calorie averages. So calorie averages make sure you're going to be in an average caloric deficit across the week. So let's say you know there's going to be a day where you're going out for dinner on a Saturday night or a Friday night. We can work that around the averages so you're eating slightly less calories throughout the week so you can still enjoy the Friday and Saturday night without feeling guilty or thinking about it. But meal prepping is an absolutely brilliant way so you know there is a meal ready for you and you're not feeling guilty about ordering something or just grabbing something on the go every day. While exercise can certainly aid in weight loss, diet accounts for the vast majority of the equation behind losing weight. And it's quite possible to lose weight without adjusting your workout routine at all. Technically, yes, you don't need to do exercise to lose weight. You can 100% eat in a calorie deficit, do 0 exercise and still lose the weight. Because as you already know, you can't out-train a bad diet. You can't do 1,000 hours of cardio, over-consuming calories and expect to lose weight. That's not how it works, but you can technically do 0 exercise, under-eat calories and lose weight. Now, am I saying that you shouldn't do exercise or you should ignore exercise completely? Absolutely not. I think exercise is a brilliant tool. Number 1, for you to improve your cardiovascular endurance, your heart health. Number 2, to improve your mental health. And number 3, for you to have goals for you to work towards. One of the big things that exercise is crucial for is maintaining and growing muscle tissue and strength. That's a major factor for you to lose weight and not turn into a skinny fat look. So you're able to have a strong, lean, athletic look and of course improve your health in the process. Now, exercise doesn't have to be going to the gym, doing hours of weight training. It can be as simple as walking and doing some body weight exercise at home. Lifting weights, of course, makes it easier for you to progress in that muscle building journey. So big takeaways from this: eat sensibly. If you're trying to lose weight, eat in a deficit and get in some form of exercise, whether that just be walking. Sleep well, and don't forget, calories are the foundation for your results in the long run. If you want to learn more about how to lose the fat sustainably and build muscle with proper exercise and nutrition regimes, and you need some advice, drop me a message on Instagram, like the video if you like the content, and subscribe for more content on how you can lose fat and build muscle in a sustainable manner without restrictive dieting, endless cardio, or unnecessary use of medication.